Unit 7, opener number 4, focuses on a couple of formulas for volume. The volume of a three-dimensional figure means how much would it take to fill up that three-dimensional figure. If you look at these two shapes, at first glance they look pretty different from each other. One of them is a cylinder and the other one's a rectangular prism. But the formulas for volume are actually really similar to each other. What I use in order to find the volume of a cylinder and also the volume of a rectangular prism, volume is just equal to the area of the base. So I use a big fancy B to mean area of the base times the height. So first let's start with our cylinder. If you think about what the base of a cylinder is, it's a circle. So we know the formula for area of a circle is pi r squared. So if I want to find the volume of this cylinder, I'm going to do the area of the base, which is pi times 14 squared, times the height of the cylinder, which is 20. For that, I'm going to take my calculator, because I don't know what that is off the top of my head. I'm going to leave the pi just as pi, because I want to have an exact answer. And I'm going to do 14 squared times 20. And that equals 3,920. So the volume of our cylinder equals 3,920. Don't forget the pi, because pi is approximately 3.14. If we leave out the pi, then our answer is only about a third of what the actual answer should be for the volume. And in a previous opener, we talked about how area always involves square units. Whenever you're dealing with volume, volume always deals with units cubed. So 3,920 pi meters cubed, or cubic meters, would be the volume of this cylinder. Next, we'll move over to the rectangular prism. You probably have learned a formula for the volume of a rectangular prism at some point as just being length times width times height. And that's totally fine. I just like looking at it as the area of the base times the height so that we can draw a comparison between these two shapes. Once you learn a whole bunch of shapes in geometry, it'll be easier if you can come up with one general formula that you can relate to a bunch of shapes instead of having separate formulas for all of them. So that's why I like having the area of the base times the height formula for the volume of a rectangular prism. So this time the area of the base is a rectangle, which is just base times height. So the volume of our prism is the area of the base, which is 10 times 22, times the height of our rectangular prism. And this almost fooled me. At first glance, I looked at this and I almost put in 1. But I'm just now noticing that the other units here are centimeters, and this unit is a meter. There are 100 centimeters in a meter. So if I want to convert this meter into centimeters, I have to multiply it by 100. So instead of 1 meter, I'm going to use 100 centimeters instead, because those are equivalent units of measurement. So now I have 10 centimeters times 22 centimeters times 100 centimeters. I need to make sure that my units match up in order to correctly find the volume. So my volume equals 10 times 22, which is 220, times 100, which is 22,000 centimeters cubed. So to summarize, when you're finding the volume of a three-dimensional figure, as long as the bases are parallel to each other, I like to use the formula area of the base times the height. But if we want to be a little bit more specific, when you're finding the volume of a cylinder, the area of the base is pi r squared. So the formula for volume would be pi r squared times the height. And when you're finding the volume of a prism, if it's a rectangular prism, then the area of the base is just length times width. So if I'm finding the volume of the prism, I would do length times width times height.